מחזירים ציר התחתון במקדש. And we're going to see there's going to be a difference in which hinge you're going to use. The bottom or the top. We're going to see. One of them you'll be allowed to, the other one you won't be allowed to. Let's see. מחזירים ציר התחתון במקדש. So in the temple you're allowed to put the lower hinge. Again, in a cabinet. Not on the doors.
What's the difference between how can you do it on a cabinet?
Cabinet fell in the
door cabinet.
The door cabinet, yeah, not the house door. The house door might be building. Over here we have cabinet doors, something else.
So you can do the lower.
That's right. מחזירים ציר התחתון במקדש, you're allowed to use the pin in the temple. אם הציר התחתון של הדלת, if the pin, the lower one of the door, כגון בדלת של ארון, for example, a door of a cabinet, נשמט ממקומו, moved from his place, במקדש מותר להחזירה לו מקומו, in the temple you're allowed to return it to its place, שכל זמן שלא יצא הציר העליון, so it's long, as long as the door is hanging, נוח להחזירו, it's easy. You just move, clunk, it comes in. It's like that's right. It's easy. You don't have to build it. It doesn't look. You just put it in. ואין איסורו אלא משום שבות. In other words, the prohibition is only from the rabbis.
The shvut. Can you explain me again the shvut? What is this chok shel shvut?
Any rules of the rabbis. Any rules of Shabbat that the rabbis said. It's called shvut. No. All, whatever the rabbi says you're not allowed to do, and the God says you are allowed to do on Shabbat, that's Shvut.
So Shvut is basically
all the rules of Shabbat or the Rabbanan. Pretty much all Eruvin is Shvut. All the Masechet Eruvin is all an invention of the rabbis. The entire Eruvin is Shvut. The entire.
You said the Rabbanan, Shvut and Rabbanan.
Yeah, same thing. Okay. Yeah. והרי אין שבות במקדש, and there's no שבות in the temple, אבל לא במדינה, מחוץ למקדש, when you go out of the temple, שגזרו חכמים, because the sage says, שמא יתקעו במקבת ובגרזן. It says, you know what, once I let you fix the זהו, you're going to start building, you're already in the process. Once I let you, you're going to continue. או שמא יחזקו במסמרים, or you're going to come bring some nails now, and make it even stronger. Once I let you start fixing things on Shabbat, it's never going to end. Shemelachai, and then it's going to come. But what happens if the top one fell, והעליון, אבל אם נשמט הציר העליון, but if the top one fell, שעל ידי כך כל הדלת נופלת, that the entire door is going to fall down, even in the temple now it's prohibited. כאן וכאן אסור. In both places it's not permitted. בין במקדש ובין במדינה אסור. Whether it's in the temple, whether it is outside of the temple, it's prohibited. להחזירו בשבת, to return it on Shabbat. מפני שהוא בניין ממש, because this is really building. In other words, if it's only hanging on the top one, can you use it?
Yeah.
You can use it. It's still, you just, it's usable. Over here it's not usable, it's broken, and you're fixing it when the top one is gone. So you're building in a temple. Building from the Torah, from the temple, that's not allowed to. ויש סוברים, this is one opinion. ויש סוברים שאין בניין בכלים. There are those who says that the Torah only prohibits building houses, building premises. The Torah, yeah. Some says that when the Torah says building is a real building. It says cabinets. The Torah never said you're not allowed to build. It says build as much cabinets as you want. It says the rabbis came and the rabbi says no. Don't build at all. Don't build cabinets on Shabbat. Yeah, but that's not a rule from the Torah. It's a rule from the rabbis. Yeah, there's such an opinion. ויש סוברים שאין בניין בכלים. There are those who says that building cabinets, well, go ahead. From the Torah, you're allowed to. There's no such thing as building in vessels. אלא הטעם הוא כאן ששבות חמורה כזו אסרו אפילו במקדש. It says even such a shvut, even though it's only from the rabbis, that kind of a rabbi is so close to the real building, like you're saying, wow, it looks like building completely. So even in the temple, that's what they prohibited it. Even though they shouldn't. In the temple it should be allowed, but they say, okay, it looks too much. גזרה שמא יתקעו במכבת ובגרזן. It says, because once we let you, you might use something else. רבי יהודה אומר, העליון במקדש, you're going to like Rabbi Yehuda obviously. Rabbi Yehuda says, the top in the mikdash, it says, אף אם נשמת הציר העליון מותר לחזרו במקדש. It says, in the temple you're allowed to use even the top one. שלדעת רבי יהודה אין בניין בכלים. רבי יהודה says, when the Torah says do not build, it meant houses. It never meant things. ולא אסרו להחזיר את הציר אלא משום שבות. So the only reason you're not allowed to do it is because of the rabbis. ובמקדש לא גזרו משום שבות. And in the temple there's no rabbis ruling. והתחתון במדינה. And the lower one, don't do the other one in the זהו. But the lower one, even in your house you're allowed to put back in. ואם נשמת הציר התחתון, and if the lower one in your house went out, הואיל והדלת אינה נופלת, since the door is right there, ונוח להחזיר את הציר למקומו, and you're not going to use a hammer or anything, because it clicks in, what's the problem? מותר להחזירו, you're allowed to return it. אף בכל מקום שאין כל חשש, שמא יבוא ידי כך ליישום מלאכה של תורה, because we're not worried that you're going to come to bring a hammer and do it, because it's hanging there, you just need to put clink inside.
A lot of times those spirits, they don't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe in the older times they didn't.
Yeah, they were wider. It wasn't so precise, maybe. Yeah.
Today it's hard to put it without.